of any society is how it treats its women and girls. It's women and girls. We create the smart, powerful.
Buckle up, buttercups. It's another episode of Surly Voices here on WMNF Tampa 88.5. My name is Liz. I am one of your hosts. My co-hosts Donna and Maria are joining via Zoom. How are you this morning, ladies? Other than Thunderdome, happening right in front of our eyes.
That part.
Yeah.
Confused, concerned. I was listening to the news at the top of the hour and hearing about the Olympic skater who cannot compete.
Because she didn't get her passport in time.
Right. And I was thinking about yesterday and looking through the list of countries that we are suspending passport services for, 75 of them, and I think I have a student in each and every one of them.
Oh, gosh.
Yep.
I've got a cold open for you guys.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Here she goes.
Stand by, okay? This is Surly Voices, folks, where we say the silent part out loud. Last week, on January 7th, a 37-year-old mother of three, Renee Nicole Good, was shot and killed by an ICE agent. We all know that, okay? Her family is demanding transparency. The FBI is investigating. Videos exist, and yet here we are, asked to accept a familiar script. Nothing to see here, self-defense. The officer feared for his life. At the same time, President Trump, the usual suspect, has turned Minnesota into a political stage, and Tim Walz into a punching bag, branding the state as a fraud epidemic, threatening funding, escalating the temperature, while federal agents flood the streets and tensions climb. Now, fortunately, not to add to the chaos, a federal judge in St. Paul yesterday blocked that impeding upon the services. We're not talking about closing down daycares or taking daycare away. We're talking about food. And if you want to get people to riot, as the French learned, you take away their bread. As the Romans learned, like, we're treading water that's already been tread to great detriment. But I digress. And here is the part that should chill your spine. This is not a solo act. It's enabled by the people around him. Look at what Pamela Bondi is doing with the six prosecutors. Okay?
Yes.
The spokespeople who sign the memos, who launder the talking points, and the lawmakers, the Democrat and the Republican lawmakers who look away. And the institutions that treat accountability like a subscription out here in these streets.
Mm-hmm.
Even inside the DOJ, resignations are being reported amidst blowback over how the shooting investigation is being handled. Meanwhile, Americans are rationing healthcare. Me, deciding whether or not I want to cancel my insurance and wait to get on Champ VA, right? Because it's $1,200 a month, and that's $2,500 I could do something else with. I could buy, half a car down payment in 2026. Although I will not take on a $900 payment, which is what I'm hearing they've gone kind of off the rails.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But a military intervention in Venezuela has happened. Congress is openly fighting over war powers, and the situation expands into blockages and seizures at sea. And they are speaking of Mexico, Canada, and currently counting their beans to see if they can send troops into Greenland. This thing is taking wings. And now the president is threatening something else. He's invoking the Insurrection Act.
Mm-hmm.
in response to protests in Minneapolis, which most of us knew was coming. I knew when Kristi Noem came to Snelling that this is what Minnesotans and Minneapolitans were going to do. And I'm going to say more on that when I get done here. This is a live wire, right? We are courting the third rail, folks. Yeah. So what's being normalized and who is paying the price? And I think Maria sent me a video of a young man who was just so chill. He was too cool for school. And he was saying that as someone who went to Fallujah, he believes that an insurrection in the coming days, he didn't say weeks or months. Now, as soon as I watched that video 5 times, trying to understand everything that he was saying, my algorithms, of course, they change. And up came a familiar scene as someone who's done lots of BLM protests of young white males. These are young white middle class to upper middle class. These kids are from Linden Hills. These kids are from Edina. They have ordered themselves gas masks.
Oh.
And they are in the streets. And so ICE comes rolling down the street on the ice. They can't go fast because it's frozen. And the kids just all ran out into the street and started beating on the windows. I saw another video where ICE comes creeping out like the Pennywise as they are at 4:00 in the morning. And people looking out the window, watching for them. They have sentries on guard. They start setting off their car alarms to warn everyone on the block that ICE is on the block. Brilliant. Imagine this is the parking lot. There's nothing the cops can do. They don't even know. There's no cars in any yards. They don't know who the car belongs to.
Right.
Right? They have no rest. They're going into bars. They're being turned away. The people have stood up. So the next thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to stop here, is how Minnesota is hear me when I say this, the bluest state in the United States.
It wasn't always, though.
It has been since.
It has been, like,
I'll give you the numbers.
You know,
I got them. I did the research. Minnesota is the bluest state. Now, the Washington, D.C., which is not a state, is the only one that rivals Minnesota in its blue voting. Okay? And it's been that way for literal decades.
Yeah.
Decades. And so, and it's a sanctuary, air quote, sanctuary state. I'm not confused as to why Trump is doing this. But I want to remind you all of something I told you more than once before all of this went down. The same way I told you Tim Walz was going to be, in all likelihood, going to be the nominee. Like, who does that? Thank you very much. I told you the flashpoint was going to be Minnesota. And it is because Minnesota is filled with white people who are educated, some college, high percentage, well over 30%, right, which is a high number for the United States. There are not as many people that have degrees as you would think in this country, as there should be in a developed country that calls itself the leader of the free world. I digress. But Minnesota is filled with people who have time, a little bit of money, some education, and an understanding of where the pain points are. And I knew they would not stop when this happened. And I said this to you, they're going to lose their minds. And keep in mind, they've been in Oregon, which was just the anarchist state where everyone fled to during Vietnam. And there's Chicago, where they kill people on the weekends for fun. And then there's New York, that is literally its own nation of immigrants. And they've been in, what was the other state they went to? And everybody went crazy.
They finally sent them to New Orleans. And
they went to New Orleans. Okay, so they've been in all these places, and Trump never threatened the Insurrection Act. So here you have it, brought to you by Surly Voices when everyone else was singing Bing Crosby, right? Mm-hmm. And we told you that this was going to be where the rubber met the road, and here we are.
So if the rubber's meeting the road, I really need to understand what Tim Walz is actually doing, because I do think he's already told his National Guard to get ready, right? And everybody's afraid that if he does it, Trump will invoke the Insurrection Act, declare martial law, all the things, right?
Right.
All it's going to take is for one person who's ordered their gas mask to hurt somebody, and then it's all going to pop off. I'm trying to understand or explain to people why the governor standing up and sort of creating a controlled environment is the reluctance for that versus Minnesotans out there acting out on their own.
I think they're scared. And so this is when we get into the thing that we've been talking about for years. Maria, you covered this endlessly, that people lack the will and to do what needs to be done in a situation like this. We literally hold the power. It doesn't matter. If they invoke the entire United States Army, all of our fighter jets, and every single tank, air-to-surface missile that we have, every smoke bomb and every grenade, they still do not have the ability to put down 300 million men, women, and children. We've got a lot of guns in this country. I've got a lot of guns in my house.
Well, I think I showed you the video for the Black Panther Party in Philly too, right?
Yes.
Sent me that. And then I went down that rabbit hole. Thank you very much. One more night, I went to bed at 4 a.m. I went to bed at 4. I can't sleep. This has gotten, as I say, it's gotten real. It's gotten real. And this is the thing that I have feared has come upon me, said Job, to quote Job. Okay? We're here. Anybody that ever doubted, that said we were being hyperbolic, catastrophic, it's not. This was always the plan. They told you Stephen Miller doesn't care. They're digging in his box of skulls. And this guy is a sociopath.
Yes.
And he's, so his family is like, WTF, right? This family, right? So we're not dealing with normal people. President Trump is unwell. And did you see it reminded me of the Grinch, Pamela Bondi, when she was talking about, well, these people would rather, they came to me and said that they wanted to resign as a consequence of not wanting to stand up for ICE agents in America. And so I fired them all. And if anyone is willing to hire these people, goes one step further. Most people go, hey, bye, B-I-E.
Yeah.
She says, if you're going to hire them, I would look into them. She's trying to blackball these people.
That's like against the employment laws. You know, you can't.
There's no. The thing is that yes, in a normal universe, they have violated so many laws. They have violated the Constitution. No articulation of that is stopping these people. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to get to the point where people are prepared. You know, does that mean mutual aid? Does that mean other things? And how do I, with all deliberate speed and intention, how are we moving through this time and space right now? That's what I want to know, right? Because to me, everybody sent me Tim Walz's statement last night that he posted on Instagram, and I watched it 3 or 4 times, right? And I do love the rah, hey, we're Minnesotans and all this other stuff, but what are you doing?
Right.
Like, it's not enough. It's not enough to tell us that to be vigilant and to do this and do that. What people need to see that we chose you, we elected you. We need you now to stand up, because to me, there's a lot on the line. It's not just you and how people perceive you as governor, but this is literally like a reflection of who we are as a country. Like this has come down to Minnesota is the epicenter of this existential battle that we are facing and confronting in this country. And how are we confronting it, right? And we need more than just kind words.
And
right?
we need more than Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck
Hakeem
Schumer.
Jeffries and Chuckles the Clown have been absolutely silent on it.
Useless.
What I saw, and I think I said, I shared with you guys, is that Madeline Stansbury is one of the Congress people who's been standing up and vocalizing, like a plan of action. Right. And I do mean a plan of action, like because when you have this vacuum in leadership, other people are going to come and present themselves and people are going to I'm sorry. I saw a press conference yesterday from Hakeem Jeffries' primary challenger, who had a whole press conference because he's a city commissioner in New York, and one of the city commission workers has every right to be here is going to for his citizenship papers was kidnapped by ICE and is now in a detention center.
Let's talk about what Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, is saying. So they had a late press conference last night that you guys may not have caught, but because I'm still tuned into, I get as much or more Minnesota news as I get Tampa news, because Tampa news does not interest me at all, because I know that movie, right? So the like Buckhorn, and which we'll get to later.
Oh Lord!
but Jacob Frey is he's afraid. And he said, and you guys know I worked with these people for years, okay? Like with these people. He's afraid. And he said there are residents that are calling them and asking them to fight ICE in the street, okay? Because the press conference came after the Venezuelan immigrant was shot last night. And he said that the last thing that they want is for, he didn't rule it out, but he spelled it out. He said, we've got 600 police officers in Minneapolis, and only a certain number of them are going to be working at any given time. We are tasked with, and I'm just reading this out of my brain, we are tasked with at any given time meeting all of these different calls for help for people around the city. And then we have people calling the police, asking for help from ICE. And so essentially, we've never been in the situation where we have basically civil war. Like, let's just say it. Let's just say it, because all of the people with their bug out bags and their shelters and their, backyards have been waiting for this civil war. So basically, this guy, who some people say might not be equipped for the job that he already has when it's not wartime, civil war time, is being tasked with sorting out what he should do, his pretty little face, right now. And I think he's terrified, because this is the problem when you have career politicians. They're looking at their long-term prospects. Mm-hmm. Literally 400,000, I pass that sign every day. There's 400,000 people proper in Minneapolis proper, and no Walmarts and 5 Targets. That's how well I know the city. And every time I pass that sign going into Minneapolis, I think 400,000 people, you should see the high rises. I do not believe that these people have the ability to put the 400,000 people they're in charge of in front of their own interests. And I believe that about Chuck Schumer, and I believe it about Jeffries, and I believe it about Pelosi, and I believe it about all these people. And whether or not they've been, in turn, some of them have been effective on some things. I don't take that away from them. I thought Pelosi was the coldest one in the game as far as being able to whip a vote. But at the end of the day, she was insider trading and everything else. So I do not believe that we have people in these positions who are equipped to stand up to Donald Trump. And all it would take is for Tim Walz that's saying, you know what, I'm on my way out. I'm going to send my children out of the country, and I am going to self-immolate. Somebody has to sacrifice themselves at the altar of stopping this. And I do not believe that anyone will.
I unfortunately
we agree with you.
Yeah.
Like this is, you would think that after he decided he wasn't going to run for office, it would be balls to the wall. This is what I'm going to do. Right? Like, and I'm and then your mayor, I'm gonna call him your mayor because that you got him elected, helped to get him elected, right?
God, I said.
I mean, he started with the get the F out of our city and writing checks with his mouth that his behind can't cash.
Right.
So that's where we are, and. You have 3,000 ICE agents in Minneapolis, and you have 600 police officers, not all on duty at the same time, right? So they're outnumbered. But you have a National Guard, and everybody's hesitant as to calling up the National Guard for this, right? So what are we doing?
I have a thought. Mm-hmm. Why doesn't Walz get together a bunch of gun-toting Minnesotans who are aligned with against ICE and make an anti-ICE
militia?
Yeah.
That's basically what you're calling.
Well,
he's got the authority to call up the National Guard for Minnesota, and that's essentially an equal number of or more than the number of ICE agents that you have, right? His reluctance, I would think, is the declaration of civil war, in Minnesota. But I think at some point you've got to think about what's at risk if you don't do it. Right.
Exactly.
Because the danger is that if the citizenry takes matters into their own hands, you no longer have control of the landscape. Right. You're basically ceding that and just like throwing up your hands and saying, okay, whatever happens, happens.
So when I put my birthday hat on with the little pieces of paper around the edges, is when I start hearing mainstream media hosts saying, no one's going to save us. We have to do this ourselves.
Yet at the same time, they publish all the propaganda that Trump's office puts out.
So Exhibit A is Joe Rogan, who was the number one podcaster. And if I were to take Trump's second presidency and place it at anyone's feet.
Joe Rogan.
Like the milkman.
And he has never said mea culpa. He has never said, I did this. I had a hand in this.
Right. No accountability. All right, our queue is backed up, ladies.
I know it is, but let me say this first about Rogan, because this will just fuel the fire. This is stoking the fire. So Rogan is now, I posted this in our group yesterday, said that it was terrible to see a U.S. citizen. And see, these people always think, this is the thing this is always happens. This is how you know people are uneducated. Because what always happens is the thing that you plan for others will befall you. Mm-hmm. And so from the old ancient all the way back to Rome and beyond to Hammurabi, all the way back to the Babylonians. If you read books, and if you don't read books, you watch YouTube videos or however you get it, how you live it, please. But please know that there is no such circumstance that has ever happened in the fall of any empire or hegemony that the people thought the neighbors that they didn't like, the others, the folks that they were othering, the trans people, the black people, the immigrants, the people that they wanted to assimilate, the people who they wanted not to wear hijabs, you wanted all of that for them. And the first person that gets killed, this is like Crispus Attucks in the Civil War, the first person to die in the American Civil War is a white, blonde woman in Minnesota. And that's how it works, folks. And that's what's coming to a theater near you. Wait, who's in the queue?
Okay, we got Gary in Largo. Hi, Gary.
Hey, let me just say that every week, and especially today's show, you can't find this level of accurate analysis, insight, insider wisdom. You can't find it on Thom Hartmann, Midas Touch, or any of the so-called progressive podcasts, and you certainly can't find it in corporate media. I am surprised that you guys have the courage to spit truth like you do, because many of your fellow hosts at MNF are afraid to go where you guys go, but it's where we need to go. Now, thank you for, allowing me to compliment you.
Thank you so much, Gary.
Again, as with my last call, I've just returned from Bay Pines, the incredible healthcare delivery system for veterans. And let me tell you, the brainwashing and the cult, they are not going to go away any more than the Confederate soldiers and slave owners did. I was talking to an employee of the VA, high-ranked medical, long-haired guy, former veteran, in Somalia. You can probably guess where this is going to go, but when I said to him that when we were all noticing that the Trump cuts to the VA are absolutely crippling the VA and killing veterans, the guy agreed with that. But then I said, well, obviously we got to do something about this guy Trump. He goes, oh, I love Trump.
Oh, my gosh.
And I said, oh, wait, it gets better. I said, really? Even though he's an enemy of your job and your colleagues at the VA as well as the veterans you serve? He goes, oh, well, he goes, my duty area was in Somalia. I hate Somalians. I hate Muslims. And Trump is going to get rid of all of them. And I support him no matter what else he does. And that's the kind of thinking. We're not going to get rid of that 38% of people that will worship this Hitler no matter how bad he is. And I remember the last time I called, I said the same thing, that if you like Trump, you're a Nazi and you're a traitor. And some dude called in and said I was wrong, and how did I try to make him feel bad? Well, I guess if you support someone who sends the Gestapo in to shoot people without cause, and as you guys know, it was when they shot a white woman whoa.
Yeah, because they had already killed a black man.
Yeah,
so.
we already killed some people of color and some poor people and some immigrant people, but when they shoot a white, now, of course, she made the mistake of being LGBTQ. And now you see that the DOJ is going after her grieving wife. These people, and you're right to talk about another civil war. And Thomas Jefferson said, if the people in the government don't believe that the citizens will rise up every so often, they will become tyrannical. One last thing, and I know that one of you at least is a Washington, D.C. insider. What do you guys think about the Bill and Hillary's very strong kick in the face to Comer in writing?
We'll get to that in a little while, Gary.
Much love to you guys. You guys rock.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary. Bye-bye. All right, Jack in Dover. Hi, Jack.
Hi, good morning, girls. Looks like, you covered a wide range of topics. I mean, from Civil War to Mondani, and I'm just trying to come up with one thing that is most important to me. I guess right off the top of my head, I think it's, Pollack, Barry Pollack, I think, being appointed as the attorney for Mondani. And I don't know, I think it's kind of unusual that, he defended Winehouse, and he was also the Enron defense attorney for those guys. And, everybody remembers, how that was, where the rich were getting richer, and then everybody lost all of their retirement, when Enron collapsed. Mm-hmm. And so it just seems like it's almost as if he picked an attorney out of public opinion, to try to show Americans that our leaders aren't really much better than he is. And I know that they're painting a picture of him being a drug cartel leader and stuff like that. And so I guess the spinoff of that for me is, when you talk about Civil War and you talk about white power and, that the white race in America is creating another Civil War scenario that the rest of us aren't going to be able to tolerate. The only thing that I can say is like with the play Hamilton, to hold your shot, to not encourage people to go where these ICE agents are in their cars, and to just try to do like Martin.
All right.
Now we're talking about. I'm glad I did the research on this last night. We're going to stop you right there. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
Thanks for calling, Jack.
Hey, Jack. Now we're going to do two things. Okay. Now I know this girl's mama wishes she would have went home. Okay, but I must remind you that the only thing right now standing between totalitarian rule in this country are people who are in the streets of Minnesota, people who are protesting around the country, federal judges who are not going quietly into the night. Mm-hmm. This is the only, you talk about a thin blue line, this thin line, it's invisible line, that's the only thing between us, right, Jack? I don't care what you say. Right? When a president is saying, I'm going to steal that country, we're going to annex Canada,
right.
Mexico, we're going into Greenland,
right.
We're kidnapping heads of state.
We're going to kidnap another country's leader.
We're funding a genocide. We're killing our own people. We're waging war on our own people on streets. They said all over Minneapolis. I look for the stuff that you're not hearing on popular, on NPR. I look for the stuff that you're not hearing on the other shows. Did you hear that all over Minneapolis, there are cars like the Rapture came?
Yeah, just empty in the streets.
Just empty cars all over the place. Imagine how terrifying this is. You're driving down Hillsborough Avenue. Imagine this. You're driving down Ulster Boulevard in St. Pete. And you see everywhere you see cars with the door open and their drivers disappeared. They said the overwhelming majority of people that are being stopped. We can't even talk about if they're actually picking up criminals or not, which was the original mission, I mind you. We can't talk about that because the overwhelming majority they're like catch and release American citizens.
Yeah.
They grab you up, right? And you say, hey, I don't have to give you my license. And then they beat you.
They're going door to door.
And then they let you out. But these cars are not doors. These are people who are driving down the streets. I saw a video last night. They stopped a black guy in traffic. He was about 26. And people are afraid. And so this is how it went down. The officer comes over. It's a woman. She asks for officer. The goon comes over and asks for his ID. He said, what do you want my ID for? You know damn well that we're not no immigrants. We're black Americans, blah, 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 he says. A white lady on the sidewalk, as Minnesotans do, says, what are you doing? Leave him alone. He go, hey, we don't want none of that. He's scared. You don't want to set him off, right? She's trying to help, but he doesn't want the help because he doesn't want the smoke because they bring the smoke. They give him his license. They go and they do something. He tells them, and nobody should be doing this. You don't have to do this with the police. Only thing I have is DUI, but they got me for a DUI because I was driving drunk. He's scared. He's talking, okay? He's letting them know. I ain't got no weapons in here. I ain't got no weed. And so they run his license, and then they give him his license back, at which point the person in the car says, what is that cowboy over there? Because someone else pulls up and is getting out of the car. So they're just like converging on this place, like they're going to do something, right? And then he realizes how he's been violated. And that's what I want to point to this caller that just called us. And he starts to talk back, and he starts to cuss because now he's upset because they're not going to take him. They know he's a citizen, and he feels relatively confident in that. So he begins to do a little light cussing. Now, to the caller's point, we have a right to protest. We redress our government for grievances on our highways and byways, which I have done ad nauseum in this city and many others as a longtime and chronic, incurable activist and organizer. And what I will tell you is that stop saying that people need to get out of the way. Those
or obey.
Our
Right,
tax dollars pay for them. We elected Donald Trump, we, the people. We elected Jacob Fry. We elected Tim Walz. We elected Jeffries. We elected Schumer. This is our country. And that's what Posse Comitatus is about. You do not have the right to use a people's own, the military that funded by these people's own tax dollars against them. That's what totalitarianism is. That's what it is. That's what serfdom is. You have no rights. You do what we say. And if we don't, we beat you or kill you or take your person, papers, and effects, which is our First Amendment. And so when you start saying things like this, what you're in essence saying is that the very foundation of the United States Constitution, which is the First Amendment, has no bearing when these goons take the streets. It's the only thing, and I say again, that stands between us and disaster right now.
All right. Let us talk to Carl in Dunedin. Hi, Carl.
Hey. Well, I actually have a lot to say. These are Trump's brown shirts.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's worse than when the Nazis, because the taxpayers are funding them. Part of the bill that the Democrats, shame on Schumer, part of the bill that got passed, on the promise that they would talk about Obamacare, which is a joke, but unbelievable amount of funding was made available to hire these thugs. And so the U.S. taxpayer is paying to arm and equip his brown shirts.
Right.
You know what? I knew about Stephen Miller a couple of years ago. So all these Democratic politicians, they know exactly who Stephen Miller is. He's Trump's Himmler. And then the other thing is, I'm off probably by a year, but we are going to see horrific violence in this country. And I mean horrific. I want, ladies, I'm an old guy. In the late 60s, they were burning down whole sections of town all over the country. There were freaking protests. Well, guess what? You know what's different between now and the late 60s? Everybody has guns.
Mm.
And the violence is going to be horrific because these brown shirts, they're going to be abusing people, and it's going to escalate. And you know what? We've had 250 years of freedom. I'm sorry, the American people aren't going to take it laying down, and it's going to get violent. So shame on the Democrats, giving money to the millionaires and the billionaires, cutting children's food programs,
Mm-hmm.
cutting people's health care, funding the brown shirts for Trump and the Republican senators.
Yeah, we're not going to get out of this one. We're not going to get out of this Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, girl.
Thank you so much for calling, Carl. But yeah, I mean, they're already abusing people. Aside from killing people, they shoot pastors in the face with rubber bullets, and it's like.
So did you see the Episcopalian bishop in Western Mass?
Yes.
That said, he's told his leaders to get their affairs in order to make sure they have their wills sorted,
Mm-hmm.
because, for such a time as this,
Yeah.
they may need to put their bodies in between these people and the most vulnerable.
Yep.
I mean, the Episcopalian Church, we're not talking about, the church in St. Pete with Pastor Andy, or Reverend Meyer, who is, standing next to me while 100 police stare us down, thinking that we're going to go onto the highway. This is an Episcopalian pastor. This is like, and they're ready to throw down. And then the monks are marching, right?
Yeah.
the faith leaders are doing what they need to do while the Southern Black Church is persecuting Drewski for making fun of them. Y'all look that up. Look up Drewski, Druski. It'll make you laugh in the middle of all these tears. And let me say this to you this morning. Now, it's been a tough couple months for me, because when I left Minnesota, and I hope I don't cry, because I'm an old battle axe and I try not to. You guys have been listening to me for 7-8 years now, and you know that I spend several months out of every year. I'm almost a snowbird. I go to Minnesota every summer. I leave in the early fall. I leave in mid-fall. And I do that because I work with a lot of the politicians that you're seeing on television right now. And some of these people I know personally. Some of the people who are behind them, their comms people, their teams, the people that have worked, I worked on Amy Klobuchar's national team when she ran for president. There were only 68 of us. And so it's a very small group of people, because Minnesota has a trifecta, because it literally has, brag, the best operatives in the country live and travel to Minnesota to keep that delicate trifecta in place. And I am one of those people. Now, for those of you who don't know that, you now know that I have deep ties to Minnesota and was looking at houses and talking to realtors in the city this past summer. And because I'm pretty much done with Florida, there's nothing that can be done for Florida. They're divesting from Florida, and every single person that is primarying a sitting Democrat is as bad or worse than the Democrat that's currently in office. And so you can't put a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. And so off to Minnesota I go. Well, when I left Minnesota, I knew that Nome was coming, and I understood the terrain, the Hmong people in St. Paul, famous community. Their restaurants line the streets, the main thoroughfares, and their culture is very much a part of the city. And in Minneapolis, Somali culture and Ethiopian culture, the Eastern African communities, their churches, their dress, my massage therapists, my Uber drivers, the people who work in the stores, the kids that I hire to work in the campaigns. So I have lots of friends in an extended family in those communities. And going to the gyms, the Lifetimes, I get to understand the spirit of Minneapolitans, and it's a very beautiful and unique place. And this is what we could be. Now, warts and all, it's a racist country, and those people are there too. And so I'm not saying that homophobia, transphobia, none of the other things, the hatred of poor people, all of those things exist in Minnesota. That's why we have to fight to keep the trifecta, because they're there too. But this is very painful for me to see the place that I love and want to live be torn apart by despot strongmen and totalitarian petty tyrants. It is very painful for me. I've had a very difficult time leaving the house. So what I've done is sat here and researched for you all of the things that I think you need to know. And I actually have an entire thing planned that I'm going to share with my co-host to help you understand what your role is, to see where you fit on the wheel of activities. If you're a lawyer, if you're a person that can take water and food and supplies to families that don't want to be traipsing around in Walmart right now, we're going to bring that to you next week. But I will bring someone on the show next week that lives in Minneapolis to give you guys a direct report. And we can talk about Alyssa Slotkin now if you guys want to, because
before we go to Alyssa Slotkin, I would like to ask or suggest that we post some links on our website. There is a link tree that I ran across that had a lot of places for people to plug in for mutual aid in Minneapolis. I think we should post because I think it would help everyone, regardless of whether they are in our WMNF community or beyond. But I think that we should post Know Your Rights.
Right.
What about interfacing with ICE? People
I have this thing here for you. If you're not in Minnesota, I found this last night. Minnesotans need your help as they defend their communities from ICE. I'm just reading it. I'm not doing a call to action. Okay, this is what it says. That standwithminnesota.com is a place where folks who want to find something to do with their hands. Standwithminnesota.com is like a one-stop shop for what you can do and what you can give.
Okay. We have 2 callers in the queue, and then after these 2 callers, we will not take any more because I want to read the emails this week since we didn't read them last week. Chris in Clearwater. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good morning. I just emailed you this information, ladies. The Civil Rights Act of 1871 gave us the ability to sue state and local law enforcement. That's in the U.S. Code, Title 42, Section 1983, of which you might be aware. And following sections. But there's no provision to sue federal law enforcement for civil rights deprivations committed under color of law, so we have to pressure Congress to pass this kind of legislation. Presently, the Department of Justice can criminally prosecute these bad actors for deprivations of rights under the U.S. Code Title 18, Section 241 and 242. And also, back to 1900, there's a Supreme Court precedent in many sense that I just emailed you. But the main one is John Bad Elk v. U.S. that says that you have the right to self-defense against, or even using deadly force, even when there's no. In this case, there's no probable cause for the arrest. And on the militia, I referred you to an archive of Dr. Edwin Vieira, the true history of what it is able to do. And yeah, it is able to. We are able to. The sheriffs are able to call up the militia. And lastly, when I've been asked to self-identify in the past by cops, the overzealous ones, I've had to say that because they don't suspect me of a crime and they weren't investigating a crime, I don't want to provide my identifying information because I don't want any law enforcement documented movements of mine to be in publicly accessible databases.
Okay. Thanks so much for calling, Chris.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. William in St. Petersburg, you have 30 seconds.
Oh, thank you. We didn't have to have Donald Trump. We had a choice. And I know so many people, including my neighbors, that they did not want a woman as a president, especially a woman of color. So no one lifted a finger to help the person who said that they were going to help the country. They chose to stay with Donald Trump, and now it's sour grapes. Oh, I didn't get what he said. He lied. And how many people who are complaining now actually voted for Trump, and now they're all like sour grapes, spilled milk? Oh, we didn't get what we wanted. I guarantee you that no one lifted a finger who's complaining now to help Kamala Harris get elected.
All right. Thanks so much for calling, William. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I have to take issue with William's analysis. I mean, first off, the DNC saddled us with Biden, who was the biggest mistake president ever. And then Biden clung on with his claws until it was so obvious he was no longer mentally capable. Then he drops out, not in enough time to do a full primary and everything. So I don't and then Kamala Harris could have won. Okay, she could have won, but you know why she didn't? It's not because she's a woman, and it's not because she's black. It's because she sided with genocide. Period.
So, you guys, I have a quick message from someone in Minnesota. This young man, his name is Connor, and he's that guy. He's an up-and-coming Politico. He says this is a targeted federal attack against our state, and this will not go away as we head into midterms. Really appreciate your thoughts on Minnesota on Surly Voices. This state is a special place, and it's been difficult to see it become a national pariah from people who don't get it, Nome, Miller, Bovino, etc. ICE can detain for 3 days. Election day will be a show of force.
Oh, yes.
Wasn't that beautiful? These are my people. This is the guy that out of all the people that I work for that I picked to say, this guy and this other guy, Akimbom Dollins, these are the people that are going to be on the front lines in this next generation of politicos. And their hearts are filled with fire.
Bless them. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we're going to read the emails because we didn't read them last week. Have you heard the ICE agent who shot Renee Good suffered from internal bleeding?
A bruise is a
yes.
internal bleeding.
Yes, I have heard that because all the major news outlets reported that, and on every single post, all there was laugh reactions because it's like, okay, now y'all are going so overboard with the propaganda that it's like satire.
Some people are buying that propaganda whole. They're buying it.
Oh yeah, the MAGAs are, yeah. Okay, so Gonzo says, good morning, Gonzo here. Hi, Donna. Coming to our country, Wolverines.
It's a Minnesota team.
Oh, okay. Then we have, how much more will Minnesotans put up with before bullets start flying? Bullets are already flying from ICE toward the Minnesotans. Loving the show and loving you guys. I'm ready for whatever, whenever. I just want to be on your team. Ted and Elfers. Thank you, Ted. We love you. Let's see. If you are driving a vehicle, you are required to show them your license.
No, that's the local police, not ICE.
Yeah. ICE is not law enforcement.
Correct.
ICE is just a made up thing with a bunch of white supremacists. I want to look up the breakdown of the demographics of how many ICE officers are women, how many are black, how many are other minorities, and see. I guarantee you, it's overwhelmingly white males.
I think I shared with you guys yesterday this piece by an investigative journalist about how she was hired by ICE.
Yes, that is
that?
Good. Yes.
Yep.
I want to do this outro for you guys there, okay? Minnesota, listen to me. They want you exhausted. They want you confused. They want you staring at your phone while the world gets carved up in your name, while a mother is killed on the streets, while they bait a governor into a spectacle, while the people orbiting power shrug and say this is fine, while foreign wars get treated like a hobby and basic needs, healthcare, wages, rent, groceries get treated like a luxury. But here's the part they never planned for. We are not just an audience. We're not just a news cycle. We are the public. And hope is not a feeling. Hope is a discipline. Hope is receipts. Hope is showing up to the city council meeting with names and dates. Hope is mutual aid and court support and childcare swaps and a neighbor who says you are not alone. Hope is unions and congregations and student groups and aunties who do not play. Hope is the quiet decision to refuse their labor. If you're heartbroken, good. It means your humanity is intact. If you're angry, good. Anger is just love with a backbone. So take a breath. Take a breath, y'all. Breathe deep. And I mean this literally. Drink some water. Stay hydrated. Get your people close. And do the next right thing. One call, one ride, one donation, one meeting, one conversation, one door, one shift, one vote, one act of protection at a time. They are loud, but we are many. This is Surly Voices.
Awesome. So Frank I can see him. He's fixing to do it. Yep, there he goes. He gave us the finger, so now it's time to go. Thank you so much for listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Please join us again next week, and we will continue to spill the very hot tea.
Love y'all.
I like stunning, I like shining, I like $1 million deals. Where's my pen? I'm signing. I like those Balenciagas, the ones that look like socks. I like going to the Tula. I put rocks all in my watch. I like texts from my exes when they